What's up, Barrett?
What's up, Dad?
You doing all right?
Yeah.
Did you like that last video?
That was awesome. Yeah.
Your music made it all. In case you don't know which video I'm talking about the I'm unloading video. I'll put a link to it, but Barrett's music kind of made it.
Never surrender.
Never surrender. That's right, the group. Sorry, I wasn't trying to give you all the credit. But today, we're going to be building a target stand for challenge targets. And we've designed it here in SketchUp. And let me lay this on the table and I'll show you what it's going to look like. This is our design here. And what I'm going to do is I'll make available our dimensions and this available on the website on ArtisanTony.com and repealgunlaws.com as a download, and if you want to check it out. But we're basically going to make this 3 feet tall. Brad at Challenge Targets was telling me that it really needs to be about 4 feet to the top of these targets, and these are about a foot 12 inches tall. So we're going to make the top of this beam here 3 feet. You're going to notice that all this stuff is kind of heavy looking. It is heavy by design. I have a big old 4x8 timber that goes across here, and I'm going to use them in here as a filler. You want this thing to have weight to it, mass, because when you start, well, obviously when you start shooting these things, that's some force, but the main force is when you pull on the rope to reset them, which I'm not showing. You'll be pulling forward, so you don't want this. You don't want some wimpy stand that's going to fall over. So, Mr. Sawman, we need four 3-foot pieces. I got them all marked. That'll be our 4 uprights, okay?
All right.
All right, there's those 4 pieces. What about the next pieces, Barrett? I'm going to make these 3 feet long. 2. What about that? So really, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see though. I was going to make these out of 2x6s to make it heavier on the bottom. Let's do that. Two. How you want them to look kind of pretty?
Yeah.
We're going to take some of these. We're going to take these rough edges off. Now this is something you can just kind of eyeball, And you don't have to get fancy with it. What we're trying to do is show people how easy this can be. It doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, so we're getting there, Barrett. So what we're going to do now is cut 4 of these braces. Barrett, what we need to do is just figure out how far back we want to come. Which a foot looks a foot. That means we need to go up a foot, and then we can measure that because we'll cut a 45-degree angle on this end. So we've decided to make these 20 inches long, and I'm just going to cut a 45 on one end. There's no reason to get fancy. We'll just square this end off because we're just going to run screws through here. So since we're just going to cut an angle on one end, we can cut the angle on this end for both of them. And this is scrap lumber, by the way. I mean, we didn't go buy this stuff. This is all scrap. And that's one thing I'm trying to show too, is that you don't have to spend a lot of money on this thing. All right, so we're using these outdoor wood screws with the Torx head. This is it uses like this a T25 bit. These work well. They're coarse, threaded. They hold well. And we're just going to put 2. I don't want to get down too close to the end because it'll split it, because I'm not pre-drilling a hole. You can pre-drill a hole for these if you want to, or you can just drive them in there. Okay, so Barrett, this gets kind of thin up here, okay? If we ran these thick screws through up here, it would probably split that out.
Gotcha.
So we're going to run them through about like that, see? So what I'm going to do is pre-drill 2 holes just to make sure that doesn't happen. Get it started here. Right next to a knot. There we go. There we go. That'll make sure those don't split. And then we can just run this down like that. I'm just going to run it in to where it's snug. I'm not going to try to drive it all the way in, because that will also split it when this head starts digging in. Just want to get them snug. Those look pretty good, don't they, Barrett?
Yeah, they do.
Now we're going to just cut our long beam to go across, and we'll be cooking with gas. And one thing people are going to ask me is, why am I not using treated lumber? Well, we plan to store ours inside when we're not using it. So if you feel like you're going to leave yours outside in one place, it's more permanent than ours is going to be, then you can use treated lumber. But you just got to remember that treated lumber is going to shrink and crack and warp and twist. And this, dimension lumber would last, I don't know, 10 years outside without even painting it. So I've been on jobs when lumber has been stacked outside to air dry, and it's been there for 20 years and it's not rotten. So there's a little bit of a myth there as far as the rot goes. So besides that, somebody may shoot this thing up, right, Barrett? We may have to rebuild part of it, and it's just easier to use scrap lumber from a job site than to go out and buy pressure treated lumber. Okay, so Barrett, these plates are 5 inches in diameter, and they are 12 inches tall. So what we want is 12 inches in between them. Okay, so that means we're going to have 12 inches plus 2.5 inches, basically 17 inches on center. Does that make sense? So if we go to our little job site drawing here, we've got 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, right? Okay, so I'm going to move these plates in. So if I mount that flush back there where you would normally think of it being, I think these holes are going to be too close to the back. So I'm going to pull this back where we've got good meat here, and about 1.5 inches. So we'll go ahead and lay out our holes and pre-drill them. And we can use this little doodad. There, look at that. It's got a notch in the center. Oh yeah? Just do it like that. As a matter of fact, That may even be an 1.5 inch back. We may just use this as our guide. This is the little spring guide on there. So what I may do is this. Hey, there we go. That's your
Draw out the holes.
That's your guide right there. Mm-hmm. And we'll just pre-drill these because again, those lags are so thick they would probably split this out. We'll start off kind of slow. Clean this one out. It's gonna work good, Barrett. Mm-hmm. These bolts are provided with the kit, and that'll go there. Just gonna get them both started before I tighten them down. Pretty good. Mm-hmm. That Milwaukee nut driver is nice, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Cool. Good job. We're getting there.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
Wonder how fast we'll be able to knock them over. Bing, 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 bing. We're gonna run 2 bolts in here that'll have wing nuts on them. We can take this apart and put it in the back of the truck. All right, so it's the next day, and actually a couple of these later, right there.
Yeah.
We're drilling our holes for our bolts here, and we're using wing nuts. We'll show you that in a minute. What we're doing is to make sure we're staying level, we're kind of checking this. So I'll come out at least pretty decently in the same spot on the other side. I think I can see it.
Yeah,
Looks pretty good, okay. Thing is, I can keep it straight this way because I can see from, I can line it up, but I can't, it's hard to judge up and down this way. So, look good on the other side. Looks good. Gonna get so now what we're using is a 8-inch bolt, through bolt, and with a washer and a wing nut. Where's our wing nuts, man? Here we go. And the reason I'm using these obviously is because we want to be able to take ours apart and haul it around. So, if you're going to do yours just in a fixed location. Is that the right thread count, Barry? Yeah, okay. For a second we got the wrong thread count on our wing nuts. And what that'll do, doing 2 like that, will give it, remember how it was going wavy back and forth there?
Yeah.
That'll strengthen it up. Give it some lateral strength. So Barry, I'm just going to put this hinge right here, and it will allow the piece to come all the way back over. Now, there's lots of ways to do this, guys. What we're trying to show you is simple ways based on simple things you can buy at the hardware store. And you don't need to do any welding or fancy cutting, or you can do fancy cutting if you want to. It's going to be really strong. Just want to get that lined up good with the edge of that beam. These are really coarse and they're long enough to stand up to the abuse. We're going to get that thing flopping back and forth all the time. So Barrett and I are trying to do rocket science here. We're trying to figure out how long our little board needs to be so that, raise it up, Barrett. So I mean the idea is so that this thing, can come all the way over like that. We figured out it's about 9 inches. You got a mark over there? yeah, that second mark. So we're gonna cut this one 9 inches long and screw it into our hinges here, and then we'll do that on the other end too. Then we'll measure our piece to go all the way across. So what I've decided to do is actually double that board because my screws are gonna come through, and that'll just make it extra strong. But I'm gonna countersink, I'm gonna pre-drill for these holes, because that screw will split that pine. We're gonna put our cross piece on, and I'm gonna pre-drill these holes again because if I put 4 screws in this, it's gonna split. So I'm just gonna put 4. Okay, get our driver. No splits. Is that good? Mm-hmm. Oops. There we go. Looks good, doesn't it?
Yep.
Okay, Barrett, give her a test.
All right.
Cool. Now lay it back down. All right. So, what I'm going to do too is put some support underneath these, because Barrett, as these fall over, they'll be putting a certain amount of stress. And I may put one in the middle too. I may put, we may get an extra hinge and put a brace in the middle. But for now, she's looking good. So Barrett and I decided, actually it was Barrett's idea, to put a brace, a 2x4 in the middle to give it more support. Now, he's right. We could have just used 2x4s to begin with, but my original design called for 1x4s. But we're using these heavy duty screws and they're going through the 1x, so I doubled it over there, which is fine. But if you just want to use 2x4s right here, they're fine. You still have to pre-drill these holes. So Barrett, go ahead and put us 3 more screws in there. That's what I love about these joist hanger screws. They'll sink up just a little bit. You know, you can just decide about how much you want to tighten them up. That coarse thread will really go in. Perfect. There you go. That seems to hold up pretty well, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Now reset it. Marvelous. Okay, we're really trying to keep this simple, right, Barrett?
Yeah.
But I was concerned about the stress on these hinges, this point right here, by letting this flop over. Let go, Barrett, all. Because I know what's going to happen. People are just going to let go like that. And so we put a little brace there, a little ledge on each of the blocks to kind of help take the stress off. What I'm trying to decide is where to put the rope. We're gonna make a little stand out that you can put. It'll just be real simple, just a 2x4 with some bracing at the bottom, and it will. The rope will have knots in it for the 20 yards or whatever, 20 feet, whatever you're gonna do. And so I'm thinking if you're by yourself and you're standing in the middle, the rope probably should come off that one, because the stand would be lined up right here beside you. You see what I mean, Barrett? Mm-hmm. So we can try that. If we don't like it, we can always move it. It's just a little eyelet we're going to run through the wood. Well, that's pretty cool, Barrett.
Yeah.
That's our rope stand. So where's our little eyelet? What I'm going to do is put a little eyelet right here, and that way it'll kind of keep the rope, you know, when you'll put this beside you. I may make a little shelf for like a timer or something, and then put the rope above it. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it, Barrett? Mm-hmm. Have a little shelf to lay a timer or something on. we don't want to get too fancy, but again, this is all just scrap 2x4s. This piece, this upright is 40 inches long. That brace there, that leg is 32 inches. This is 14 and a half. That's 20 inches. And I'll put all the dimensions in our SketchUp drawing. But we're almost there. See, Barrett was making fun of my little shelf, but look, I can set my timer there. I can set my phone, my camera.
Yep.
See, he's like, it looks like a duck. I like it. Did you cut this board? You put the knot right there.
Whoops.
Now we'll face it that way. Your rope will come through there, and you won't have to lay your rope on the ground. See, aren't we cute? We're just cute. That's all there is to it.
This is definitely my favorite thing we've ever built.
It's pretty fun, isn't it?
It's cool.
It's a neat do-it-yourself project. So Barrett, you're a Glock 19. Knock him over. Okay, so we got our little rope stand. I can put my little martini right here if I want to, but then all I gotta do is reach out and boom. Now what I'm gonna do is put like a porch swing or a screen door spring on it so it goes back. And that should work good. Well, we got her finished up.
Yep.
Got her loaded up and ready to go to the range. Unfortunately, that's going to be in video number 2. We'll be more prepared. And we'll have more daylight to get some target practice in. And so we'll see you in that video. Nice.